approach our members with respect. May our conduct create an environment of cooperation and kindness. Thank you for helping us to accomplish our work this day. We ask these things in your powerful name. Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's call the February 18th, 2020 meeting of Hartville Village Council to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Williams,
Here.
Reese,
Here.
Cozy,
Here.
Green,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Sullivan.
Here.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda?
Second. And can we also have a motion to add the bills to the fiscal officers section?
Motion to add the bills to the fiscal officer
Thank you.
section.
Williams,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Cozy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Are there any citizens' comments on agenda matters only? Okay, we'll go on to the fiscal officer.
You have the council minutes from the February 4th meeting. If there's no changes, motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes, sir.
Second.
Williams,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Cozy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
You have our monthly report for January. If there's no questions, motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Motion to approve the report.
Second.
Second.
Williams, Reese,
Yes.
Cozy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
And you have the list of bills. There's no questions, motion to approve.
Motion to approve the bills. Second.
Williams,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Cozy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor, that's all I have.
All right. First thing I have is there's a public hearing set for March 3rd at 6:45 p.m. on the zoning ordinance. The second, we have some gentlemen from the Lake Med Tech class going to give us a short presentation. Do you guys want to go ahead and get that set up? And I will go on to my third item I have. And that is the contract with Stark Soil and Water. I put it in your boxes. We sign this every 5 years. They take care of our construction site inspections, education, staff training, almost anything to do with stormwater in the village, they deal with it. And I just need a motion directing me to sign the contract so I can send it back to them.
Is there a change to the contract? It's still the
No,
same?
it's
Okay.
Same amount and everything?
Price went up,
last year, yeah.
Last year.
4,500 now instead of.
Yeah.
And they added a few more things in the scope of their services, but it's pretty much.
I'll make that under a motion.
Second.
Williams,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Cozy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Guys all set? Okay.
Read that one.
Go ahead.
Says the woman that won't have a head.
Is it picture portrait over there? There we go.
Yeah.
So I'm not used to these technologies.
It took me half a day to set it up to my thing.
I just have to get creative.
It is the coolest technology around.
All right, so I just wanted to start off by thanking everybody here for gathering this evening to listen to our little presentation. A special thanks to you, Madam Mayor, for listening to us and considering what we have to say about our presentation today. This is part of a group of presentations with HPAC. As you said, we are part of the Lake Med Tech class here in Hartville. And HPAC sends a representative into our class, and we talk about healthcare problems and how to solve them. So our healthcare problem was readily available and affordable EpiPens and lack thereof. And we wanted to solve that. So this presentation is going to be how we can deal with that. I'm going to go into some statistics here. It cost the company Mylan, who manufactures epinephrine, the epinephrine auto-injector, $30 to manufacture these pens. They're asking you to pay $700 for a 2-pack. And you can get the same generic EpiPen with the same dose of epinephrine for the fraction of the cost for $350. And these were all out-of-pocket costs without insurance. And these statistics are useless if you don't even know if you have allergies. So many people don't know that they have allergies until they have an allergic reaction, which is fatal. Anaphylactic shock is nothing to be taken lightly in the medical field and can be fatal under the right circumstances. Up to 32 million people in the United States have life-threatening allergies, and this includes 5.6 million children, and that is roughly 2 children in every classroom.
Alright, so our goals, EpiPen should be put into public places for emergencies just like AEDs or CPR masks. And these pens provide life-saving care to people every day. An allergic attack can happen in a matter of seconds, and some people don't even know they have allergies. Over 170 allergens are present today, and it only takes one time for a person to be exposed to their allergen and have a detrimental effect. We want to lower the cost of these epinephrine auto-injectors and make them affordable for everyone. Our goal is to put these pens in the local businesses and for you to make it a requirement to have them in any establishment.
Alright, hello, my name is Nathan Ross. Different places that we think EpiPen should be placed in is definitely our first place is schools. Lake Elementary, Lake Primary, Lake Middle, and Lake High School. As Garrett said, there's roughly 6 million children who have allergies. Another place is police cars. So many police cars, they carry Narcan, which is a drug that reverses the effect. So if you have like a drug overdose, it brings you back to life. Now, we think that epinephrine is just as important, so they should be placed in police cars as well. Many stores should have EpiPens. Stores sell red meat, peanut products, any kind of food products that people could be allergic to can get affected just as easily. And in restaurants, Grinders, Starbucks, Hartville Kitchen, if you eat something, you might not know if you have an allergy or anything, and it could just be one time, and it could have detrimental effects.
Hi, I'm Noah, and where you guys come in is we want you to make it a requirement for businesses that have potential allergens to carry EpiPens. We would like you, along with manufacturers, to provide EpiPens to local businesses such as Mark's, Hartville Kitchen, Aldi's for the safety of our community. And we would like you to be the first to take part in our idea. We want people to look at us as examples and follow us. This would give the Village of Hartville and EpiPen manufacturers major publicity.
And we thank you very much for listening to our short presentation. We hope that you will consider what we have stated here and make Hartville, Ohio a better and safer place for people with allergies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very interesting. Nice job. That's what
This was such an ease though, did you notice that?
Practices when we're not here. Yeah, I know, we sit here, yeah.
Let him go.
I do love our digital. That's a good
Sure, they don't have to stay. Wait a second. If you guys don't have to stay for the whole meeting, if you wanna go ahead and go, we'll wait a minute to start.
No, it's still back.
No one has to go back to work. Oh, how fun.
That's why you got a tie.
Not after using my bank card for food for all of them before.
Nice.
Thank you, we'll definitely talk about that.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to old business.
So advertising, we had talked about this a while back when we brought it up in 2019. We've got numbers based upon advertisement and we'd like to make a recommendation. So what we recommend is that any news that we can publish it without a time constraint, meaning it doesn't have to be in there within 24 hours or it doesn't have to be in, that we would suggest that we would advertise through the Hartville News. If there is a time constraint and something that legally has to be in the paper by a certain time, we are suggesting that we utilize the Alliance Review, since it is a daily paper and not a once-a-week paper. So that's the recommendation based upon the pricing and the timeliness of the paper. Any discussion? Good with directing the mayor this way. Okay. Anything else? All right, we'll go on to the law director.
Okay, the first item is a third reading, so I'm gonna ask you to table that. So I'm gonna read it and I'm gonna ask for a motion to table it so we can have our planning commission meeting for their consideration. And then after that, we can have to vote on the third reading. So this is a third reading of ordinance number 1-20.03, amending the zoning ordinances for the village of Hartville to allow for an indoor shooting range as a conditional use in a B2, M1, or M2 district. Make a motion to table.
Second.
Williams,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Cozy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes. Thank you. Next item is a first reading, resolution number 2-20.08, authorizing the mayor of the village of Hartville to enter into an agreement on behalf of the village with TAC Computer Services for the term January 1, 2020 through December 31, 2020, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Was the cost the same, or is there an increase?
I'm not familiar
I'm
with
not familiar.
Mayor.
There's a little increase every year. Very little though. I mean, they run all our computer stuff, it's not like. If you want an exact amount, I can get it. I don't have it all again.
Can we do a first reading so you can review
Sure.
the amount? Motion to
We had a
amend.
motion made by, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, motion to amend, to remove.
I was just thinking that we could go ahead with it and then just.
Not do the
Yeah,
rest of
the
the
emergency
emergency,
clause
not do the
down.
rest of it, yeah.
We have a second for that.
Second.
Williams,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Cozy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sullivan.
I will email you guys the changed one.
And that was a motion to
First reading.
first reading. Okay. And then,
Never gone back to the
get a second on the motion for the first reading? Motion and a second.
We had a motion, second by Reese.
Yep.
Yes,
We just need a roll call.
Williams,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Cozy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Then the last one is a first reading of resolution number 2-20.09, authorizing the mayor of the village of Hartville to enter into an agreement with Barney Fink and Associates to act as the village fiscal officer.
So moved.
Second.
Question, it's my understanding there's no changes to the amount,
No.
is that correct?
The fee is the same.
Okay.
There is a clause in there for additional work. Williams,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Cozy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Okay, and that's all I have.
all right, thank you. Move on to the engineer.
Just a quick update, me and Nate met with ODOT District 4 regarding the milling and resurfacing project for State Route 43 they will be doing some work in Canton all the way to Hartville, but we discussed the section in Hartville and we presented a couple of storm challenges that we have in the village and try to work it out while they're doing their work. There's a couple of other things that I'll just cover them under the planning. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any requests of council members? We'll move on to the committee reports. Commerce,
We do need to meet to vote on the committee chair. Pretty much all the committees need to meet to vote on that, so is there a day next week that's kind of good for everybody? Can have as many as we possibly can.
No, Tuesday.
yeah, Tuesday.
Tuesday's bad.
Of course, I guess we can officially have a meeting over there.
What, don't you wanna just like wait until something comes up, or when you wanna have your
It's not a
first
big
meeting?
deal, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a big deal to have a chairman right out of the gate.
Need anything for Parks and Rec or anything else?
I'm gonna set one up sometime, it can be the end of March though, just so we can get Mike Ringer working on Memorial Day.
I figure he'll be calling soon.
Yeah.
Street and drainage, we need to meet for the lights. So a few committees do need to meet.
Do you want to meet after the next meeting at Street and Drainage, because the guy for the lights will be coming to the next council meeting?
Good.
So you might want to set it up after that.
Maybe we'll set them up after the first meeting in March, we do all the,
Because at least you'll need a few of them by then.
yeah.
Finance?
Finance met on the 11th. Items of discussion were the funding options for the police department, reserve funds, the 2020 budget items, and the light poles that we just talked about. The light poles themselves, we have approximately 21 of them that need replaced. The question at hand is replacing all the lights themselves. We have a proposal in front of us. The company wants to basically replace every light in the village with efficient LED lights. That cost savings would go back to them for a period of 15 years. That's part of the discussion, and as the mayor just said, we're gonna have a presentation from that company for more information on it. The other items was the reserve fund, the budget items that we had talked about during the budget period last fall. Those items will come up in the spring, and we'll review them again more towards the spring. The other item was the funding for the police station. The solicitor presented funding options and loan possibilities for amounts, and we went through his list, his presentation, and then the request for the finance committee is projections for the general fund for the next 5 to 20 years.
Just one correction, that was actually Scott.
Oh, the fiscal officer, not the
I didn't
solicitor.
make that presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry, I said solicitor. I meant
That's
fiscal
the one I
officer.
wanted to ask you
Yeah.
about.
Nice job.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Yes, fiscal officers presented that. Scott, do you require a meeting between now and the next council meeting?
No, I'll send the information out to you when I get it done.
Okay. Does anybody,
Well, just as a note, when he presented those numbers to us, when Scott presented those numbers, it came out to the point where it's gonna cost the village very little by his numbers, so I just wanna make sure that was known.
right,
So, out
basically,
of pocket was gonna be,
the presentation showed that at a $2.5 million loan would be $103,000 per year
right,
for a 40-year period.
right, but that wasn't coming out of just general money, so to speak, so.
Right. But it all, and
I just don't wanna get misconstrued that we'd be spending
Yeah,
that much
I-
money.
understand what you're saying. Is there a meeting request from any other committee members? For anything?
Not until probably after the lights
Okay,
presentation, I would say.
all right.
Personnel committee,
Nothing.
Cheryl sent copies out. Did you guys go over that? I know Kelly had sent comments on, but nobody else did. Did you wanna have a meeting to discuss that? What do you wanna do about that?
And this evaluation is, for everyone out there, it's about a performance evaluation for the employees. So, is this for every employee of the village then that would?
It would be
going
for
through the
everybody
process?
except for the police.
Got it,
They have their own.
okay.
Read what Kelly had written and it all made sense. I mean, I definitely think the first one was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was overwhelming, and to have to do that one every year, it just got ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why they
I
wanted
don't
to
know
change.
if we need to have a meeting, but.
It's up to you guys, whatever you do.
I mean, I'm fine, because, as I said,
Do you want me to go ahead and send it to everybody else on council? They can get their input and you guys can discuss it at the next meeting? Okay, I'll do that. Okay, planning.
Planning had a meeting also on the 11th. Two items of discussion was the Danbury Glen and a construction plan submitted by Scott Horning from Gitchway Properties. In his plan, he is proposing to build a 7-unit building, basically for storage. But it would allow, each unit would also have bathrooms, so it could be just a little bit more than just storage units. We went through, the planning commission went through everything as far as the parking requirements, all the property lines, things of that nature. We went through, the fire department actually wrote up a summary concerns any concerns that they had, which they did not have. They just put in some of the requirements that they have as far as the turnarounds in the back of the building. The engineer presented a list of requirements, and those requirements had not been met from the meeting, but we agreed that we would present this as long as those requirements were met under the engineers.
Yes.
So, go ahead.
So I we received the plans today, and I compared them to the comments, reviewed them, and the engineering wise, he made the comments and addressed them all. The only thing is basically cost estimate. He needs to provide that for,
Yeah.
just for bonding issues and,
Yeah.
so that's the only thing.
And in the checklist, it basically covers the idea that he has to present the cost of the solicitor this time, and and so that he can formulate the bonding requirements for the bill. So,
But, when he submitted the plan, some of the missing information, we just brought it to his attention and he covered them all. So the plans are good as of now
And the drainage issue.
drainages, he showed the proposed grading, added catch basins on the plans, showed existing grading or contour lines and proposed contour lines, all shown on it. Connections tie-in for the storm and for sanitary gas line, he showed all that on the plans.
okay, so with that, I did make, at the time, I made a conditional approval, which the planning commission accepted. And I would, at this time, I would make a motion that we approve with the addition of the engineer's report, that we accept these plans and give approval to the Gitchway properties.
That's a motion.
That's a motion, yes.
Second.
Williams,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Cozy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes. The second item of discussion was rather lengthy. It was, we talked about the Danbury Glen drainage issues, and Sam and
Gene Arthurs.
Yeah, presented their reports on the condition of the catch basin, or I mean, the retention pond. And out of that discussion, one of the things that we noted is that there's that the Stark County actually has a proposal that allows for two different types of calculations to be made. And with those calculations, one actually is, and as presented, make sure I get this right, the calculations are correct, one is just more favorable than the other.
So basically two methods to calculate the size of the size of the pond. But with time, it's been found that one of them is actually more accurate, or it's better to use when you are talking about the volume of that pond. So when we did our analysis, we came up with a certain sizing, and when we discussed it with GBC, which is the designer for the pond, we looked at the method that they used, and they used a different one. It is approved to be used by Stark County, but again, it's not the best method, in our opinion, to size the pond volume-wise. So I guess the recommendation was basically, let's try to come up with a language for the future reference to maybe add an additional requirement to the Stark County to make sure that we're not going to have the same issue in the future.
So what actually happened, I mean, basically there was some ambiguity with what our language states. And so the commission actually asked the engineer to come up with the language to present to our solicitor for a recommendation of how he would make those changes and then basically go with one formula over another formula. So that was the recommendation from the planning commission, to have him present that to them. I don't believe we need that as a motion. We had that as a motion inside the planning commission. So that was the first piece of it. The second piece, we continued our discussion about the handling of the flooding condition itself. There are some other circumstances that were brought out during the meeting, and I believe at this point, we need to get a larger group back together. The planning commission asked the mayor to sort of direct and get these people back together so we can have a discussion with the larger group. Stark County, probably.
Commissioner,
What's that?
the Stark County Commissioner. at least one of them.
Yeah,
And the township trustees, since this does
it does
impact
involve
the
township.
outside, the township.
Yeah. So there were no other recommendations at this time for
So we
the
can try and get this
condition,
problem
just to
resolved.
try to, at this point, try to get a group together to see what we can do. One of the recommendations that did come out was in the building of phase 3, when Danbury Glen comes to propose stage 3 build, we would actually recommend at that time an additional pond to help resolve the situation that's, help relieve part of the situation that's going on with the phase 1 and 2.
The way they talked, it would relieve part of that, and it would completely remove 3 and 4 from them,
Yes, it could.
so.
The only other thing I have on there is, there is a meeting in March for discussion of the ordinance that was presented and tabled. That's it.
All right, Parks and Rec,
So we'll set up our meeting at the first meeting in March.
okay. Safety,
Nothing yet, but I wanna set up a meeting after all this property stuff is taken care of, just so we can start the next step. The little story, the officers been cleaning out the evidence locker downstairs, and they stumbled across a blueprint from 1964 of a police facility that they wanted to build that was presented to council 5 years after the village was presented. It's kind of neat to look at, and Chief Doherty has that, which is kind of a neat little story. The guy that drew it, they invited him over and he told the story and how he presented it to council and stuff like that. So if we'd like to see it, the chief has it with him right there. If you'd like to bring it up and show everybody real quick. It's actually kind of cool how they had it laid out.
When the village was 5 years old, there was 2 police officers. I think it was Smiley and somebody else, chief and a sergeant. And they commissioned Dick Levy to do some blueprints. They're pretty faded. We found them downstairs. And Mr. Cozy, you weren't here for the finance committee meeting, but I do remember you said, how would we pay for a building? And Mr. Varney did come up with a very viable plan. But back then, Village Hall was kind of similar to this. It had council chambers and a courtroom as the centerpiece in the middle of the building. On what would be the east side from this diagram would be the police facility. On the secure east side was the Village Hall restroom. It was not in the open, it was secure over here on the law enforcement side. Literally, employees and visitors would have to get access. But there was an office for the chief and a sergeant, 2 jail cells. There was workspace and a sally port, a parking garage to bring prisoners in. So back in the early days of the village, they knew what was required for safety for the police officers. And unfortunately, not only did we not build this, but according to Mr. Levy, we never even paid him for the work he did. I told him we probably weren't going to accomplish that either. But I can tell you we had a great meeting with the gentleman. He is a wonderful guy. Interestingly enough, they had more space then than we have today to operate a police department in. And it was a safer building than we have to operate a police department in today. There was 2 officers then, there's 13 of us now. Every time you guys talk about a police facility, the police department stops. They hold their breath and they listen very, very carefully. And they're hoping that you're going to change the world. And they can say, they're listening right now. They said, Chief, please, good luck. Go in there and make a difference. We have an opportunity. I know you're looking at 5-year revenue plan. I know he said, and I watched him do the numbers, the money that's coming in is going to be there. If we finance it for 40 years, you guys have 40 years from now to think about how do we get a 0.5% tax that's going to take care of the paving that absolutely needs to be done, and can pay this off before 40 years expires. But if we get this done now, we can start building this year, we can have a police facility next year. These guys can expand the space that they need. Every day I see what happens up here with the overcrowding. I live what happens back there with the overcrowding. I see the unsafe, unsanitary conditions. I see the problems that happen when we're trying to interview people in space that was never designed to interview multiple people. I see what happens to the victims of crimes when we can't protect their anonymity. We can't give them the confidentiality that they deserve when they have to tell the secrets of the bad things that have happened to them. Please, let's look at what Scott has come up with in the way of financing. And as soon as he does what you asked him to do, as soon as the land deal has been inked, let's move forward with this. Let's at least try to live up to what they envisioned for us when the village was 5 years old. We're 51 years later here. And it absolutely positively needs to be done. And I'll leave this if you'd like to see it.
Yeah, they might.
That's a cool picture.
It's great.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Lamy did a great job. I told him if we would give him back pay, he'd do a lot of taxes.
And he still lives in the village too.
Yes, well, he didn't live in the village then, he lived in Akron, but he moved here because he loves Hartville.
That's fine.
Sewer rates,
Nothing for sewer rates. So,
street and drainage,
we'll wait till after the presentation for street and
zoning.
drainage. Unless you manage to get a group together for the Danbury Glen issue, we can discuss that in street and drainage, so.
I doubt we'll have that before the next
Okay,
meeting.
that's
It's
fine.
kinda hard getting all the people
Yeah,
together that quickly.
understand that, but just by some quirk of nature.
I'd probably count on that like maybe mid to late March.
Okay.
That seems like the timeline for the last one I got together. Okay, any miscellaneous business? Any citizens' comments not on agenda items? All right,
No executive session, I'll make a motion to.
Second.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Cozy,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.